thought that we were going to go out and start murdering people the next day. Because the same arguments we heard 10 plus years ago were brought up again. And they make no more sense now in 2013 than they did back then. And Dave Henson, and Paul Kirkman, and Brian Nieves, and I, and many others, we argued against it. We were called everything under the sun, but we surged forward. I'm happy to say that the House passed the bill 2 or 3 or 4 times, and so did the Senate. But our governor, who ran as a conservative during both of his elections and said time and time again he is a lover of the outdoors and firearms and our Second Amendment rights and hunting and fishing and all that, vetoed a bill called the Second Amendment Preservation Act. That's right. You can boo. We ran into a calamity during veto session, as we do during any veto session. I'm proud of the fact that we overrode our governor a historic number of 10 times, because second-term Jay Nixon is not first-term Jay Nixon. And if anybody thought this man was a conservative, I'm telling you, he's here in the next 3 years to re-earn his liberal Democratic stripes. So he vetoed that bill. We ran into some problems and could not override the veto. The House passed it. The Senate had some problems. But the storybook is not completely written. Because we know that we can't just take this momentary setback as the final answer. If the federal government, if we had an election maybe this year and could bring some sanity back to our U.S. Senate or back to our White House, then maybe we could say, okay, well, we don't need to worry about this issue next year. But the same people are still in power in Washington. And they now have a few years left to try to, in the president's words, transform this country. Some of that transformation has begun. We are now under the auspices of Obamacare, and you're all seeing it's what all of us in this room, I bet even though we're here talking about one of our rights and freedoms today, I bet all of you, I bet I know your position on Obamacare, and I bet I know what it was for the last 3 or 4 years. And all the things that we said would come true are coming true. Less freedom, less choice, higher cost, disastrous for the economy. You know that these last 3 years, President Obama, Eric Holder, are going to be complicit with our governor, and he may not do it visibly, but behind the scenes, they'll be doing everything they can to continue to restrict the rights and freedoms of law-abiding Americans and law-abiding Missourians, because they believe we should have a government-centered society, and that they know best. Notice how none of these people ever say that government shouldn't have any guns, that we should ban them forever and send them all on a ship to the moon. They're fine with government having guns. They're fine with government buying more ammunition and firearms now than ever before in our nation's history. They're fine with that kind of stockpile. They just don't want you, under the Second Amendment, to continue to exercise the right to keep and bear arms as law-abiding Americans, as we've done for over 2 centuries, and that we should have the right to continue to do. So I leave you with this pledge. I have 1 more year left in the Missouri House. And then we'll see where the people of Missouri want me to go to next. I sort of have some plans, but we'll be working those out down the line. My number 1 goal next year is to focus on making sure I leave the Missouri House in better shape than when I found it. And then after I'm finished, Representative Hinson and Kirkman, Senator Nieves, and others will have to take it from there. But my pledge to you is I will continue to guard and protect your freedoms from top to bottom. And the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment Preservation Act will be one of the top priorities of my final year and of the Missouri House. So help me God.